When I look in the mirror, I know that I've done everything that I could. Like I've given everything. I've always tried to find something more and be the best version of myself. I actually remember saying myself, I'm the best in the world. Like I had that much confidence, like straight away, like I can do this.
Bottas retakes the lead. Wow!
You know, to get to Formula One, you had to be competitive to show to the outside world and potential sponsors, manager that you have the talent. And then in the junior categories, basically you have to win all the important series. Otherwise you have a slim chance of making it unless you come from super wealthy background, which I don't. So I had to prove myself with talent.
Valtteri Bottas wins the season opener.
For me, basically, it's trying to work harder than anyone else.
We talk about fear. Is it a factor for you?
In the car, never. If I'm just about to crash, let's say I've lost the back end of the car and I know that, okay, I'm going to that wall fast. That's uncomfortable, and that could maybe a bit of fear in there, like how much it can hurt.
Touch a bit of water, he runs a bit wide, and boom.
But for me, while I'm in control, no fear at all. It's good times, sometimes bad times, but for sure it's made me tougher. It's been a challenge. But what motivates me is the future, because I still have my goals. I know that there's always ups and downs, and the main thing for me is to remind myself what I still want out of the sport, and that's still to eventually get back on the podium and even winning. So that is my motivation. When things are tough, I try to remind myself of both. Just like a switch. I was like, come on, I've still got so much more I want to achieve in sport, and I don't want to give up now.
You never give up?
No, never give up. Eventually, when I finished my F1 career, that I did everything that I could, that I enjoyed it, that I can be proud of it.
You've had obviously like elite training for, one of the highest intensity sports in the world. Most people won't have that in their life. But what would you say that you've learned through all of that would be applicable to the everyday person?
Through the training.
Training or just life? Like, what do you think you've learned that would be really helpful for somebody who may not encounter, again, elite stuff, but just looking to make goals happen in their life?
I've definitely learned that sometimes I've overdone things, like I pushed myself too hard. In terms of my mental and physical capacity, I found my limits earlier on in my career. It was only 2014. I managed to get myself into this like overtraining syndrome. So just really, the whole body was like tired, stressed, not recovering anymore. I was training too much, eating too healthy or too little, let's say. And I found my limit. And that as well, that was pretty good eye-opener mentally for me. Like, maybe I need to have something else sometimes than F1 if I want to have a long career. Because yes, you can have great career, but a short one if you don't take care of yourself. If you're burning the candle from both ends, it's not sustainable. So that's something I've learned.
What does it take to be an F1 driver?
You need to be super patient, because to get to the point, get to become even a part of a Formula 1 team, it takes long time. I started racing when I was 6 years old, so it's been a long journey, and you want things to happen quick. You want your career to progress quicker than it is, well, always. So patience is one big thing when it comes to your career, when it comes to driving as well, to control yourself, your emotions, but also all the other stuff that is involved. Like, you need to be able to deal with so much of like sponsor commitments, and media is very present in this sport, right to the point of just before the race start, So these kind of things you just need to kind of learn to handle without compromising your performance in the car.
I think oftentimes it comes back down to that, are you willing to outwork other people? It's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah.
And even at this stage in your career, do you feel like you still have that drive to outwork other people?
Definitely. Like, of course, I've learned to work smarter, which sometimes means there are opportunities to save energy here and there, just to be able to perform even better on track. But you need to be in this sport, especially the way it's evolved in terms of technology and data. You have to prioritize things. It's quite easy sport to overdo it as well. Like you start overworking or over trying. It's a fine line. So I think during my career, I've definitely learned that right balance.
You know what's been interesting? It feels like in the last few years, and I don't know if it's with Team Alpha or something else, but it feels like your personality is really coming through. What do you think that is? And I'd be curious, what advice you'd have for others who feel like they're a bit trapped with their personality or feel like they can't really be themselves. But yeah, if you can describe maybe coming out a little bit with out of your shell a little bit.
It just happened. I mean, I think there was quite a clear correlation as well. Like when I changed the teams, I had different targets in terms of more like progress and development and longer term goals. For the first time, I had actually stability in Formula One, not just having 1-year contracts. It just felt like it was a bit of weight off my shoulders. That okay, I've got this project. I'm motivated, even though I know I'm not probably for a while I'm not going to win races. But that was something new and exciting. And yeah, I think I just managed to not to take some things in life too seriously as well. I learned that life is not that serious sometimes, and also just not afraid to show who I am to the people more, instead of being in a certain mold, what perhaps people would expect from you being an F1 driver and trying to win the championship. But I think it's just a combination of change of atmosphere in terms of the team, working with new people. Also, I found a new life partner, and stuff like that. It's just kind of, I'm just so comfortable with myself now. Like, yeah, some people might say I look silly with my mustache and mullet, but I'm happy. When I look in the mirror, I'm like, nice. And that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. I dream of hair like that. I feel like
yeah. So it's just much more comfortable with myself. But I think it's a combination of experience, all these kind of things. So yeah.
What about the skill set side? Like, what are the actual skills that allow you to be so good? What does the training look like?
It's a combination of skills, strength, and cardio.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I would have guessed the core stuff, but the cardio, like, I mean, you're a cyclist. I know that you're fit, and even still, you say cardio is a big part.
It is really important, especially when the season goes longer and longer.
Yeah.
If your base fitness level, you're healthy towards the end of the year, you might have an advantage. And some extreme races like we had in Qatar, extreme temperatures, then you definitely have the upper hand if you have good cardio.
Yeah, that race, I heard that race was...
It was pretty brutal.
Was it?
Yeah, it was like working out in a sauna. So
really?
Yeah.
For that long?
Yeah.
Wow. So on the physical side, I mean, I've never been in a car that fast, other than the fact I probably just couldn't control it. But what would surprise me most physically?
The G-forces.
Yeah.
The amount of, like, example, when you, after a long straight, in that speed, you have so much downforce that you can brake so hard, the car just stops so quickly. I think that would shock most people, that on braking or in some high-speed corners, we have 5.5 G-forces. That means 5.5 times your body weight that you would feel like moving around. And that corner after corner, lap after lap, plus the temperature, the mental focus, it is training, and I think that's the best way to explain it. It's always hard to explain because to feel G-forces, not many people can do it in their whole life,
Yeah. I honestly wouldn't. I mean, I can do the math in my head. That must feel heavy, really throw you around, but I have no idea what that actually feel like. And then I have no idea what that would feel like for a couple hours, where it's like, I actually don't know if I've ever concentrated that hard for that long, like where there's nothing else. There must be nothing else in your world for those couple hours. Is that true?
For sure. You have to be in the moment. And I think those are, again, the basic skills what you learn from go-karts, from junior formula, that focus is the key. You can't think of anything else. And it's incredible, like, nowadays it's actually not really allowed to measure your heart rate, but in some testing and some junior categories, without being measuring my heart rate, when it's that one qualifying lap, even though you're working physically as hard as pretty much any other lap, but your heart rate just goes through the roof because of the mental strength and the focus. Like you're using your whole brain capacity for that one lap, and you need really strong head for the sport. I've always loved to challenge myself and have a certain goal and push for it. Of course, by far, Formula One is the number one thing, and that's I still have all my number one goals is within Formula One. But when you have those, your summer break or your weeks off or weekends off, it's a nice thing to have, something else. And I just love sports. I love the feeling it gives you. And also mentally, I found cycling is a great way for me to disconnect from F1. Again, a bit like going for a hike in a forest in Finland. It's a bit like you get out on your bike to the mountains or gravel roads, and you can just really get a bit bigger view of the world, of the life, and remind yourself of the simple things in life.
So successful F1 driver, entrepreneur, cycling, business person. And this is a big question, but what's next?
We're in Mexico, so tacos.